Okay, so I'm going to show you how to win on your second half bets, okay? And what to look for on second half bets. The thing I like about this, using this, is there's really no way around it, okay? Like, it doesn't matter what, if they skew the percentages a certain way to try to trick you into betting a certain side. It doesn't matter because you have to wait for the second half. That's why you can easily get an edge on second half betting, okay? Because no matter what they put, okay, no matter what they put on these percentages here for the game, you could write it down. There's no way they can switch anything up, okay? And if they do, you'll notice it. You'll know because you'll have it. You'll know what it was for the game already. All right. And there's numerous sites you can go on and get an estimate of what the actual percentage is. Okay. And just by looking at the teams, if you've been doing this for so long already, you'll know what teams will have a higher bulk of people betting on them. Okay. It really takes just practice, okay? So it gets a little tough when you start dealing with these smaller schools, but I'm gonna stick to the basics right here and just tell you that you want to stick to these bigger schools when you're first starting out, okay? Because it's a lot more predictable to know where these percentages are going and where the people are betting, okay? So I'm going to give you an example here, and this video is very similar to the one I made November 3rd, okay? How New York Jets won against Buffalo Bills by betting the luck factor, okay? It's very similar except you're waiting for the second half, okay? You're not betting the games. All right, so I'll put this video down in the description. Same exact strategy, okay? And you're using these percentages along with that strategy, okay? So, I'm going to show you this one right here, this Oklahoma, Kansas State. I'm going to give you this example, and then I'm going to show you some other games just by going down the line for the last 3 or 4 days, okay? So, this game right here was on the 16th. This game was on the 16th. Oklahoma and Kansas State, all right? So, just like I mentioned about the luck factor, these two teams did something in their previous game that was either lucky or unlucky. It doesn't matter if both teams do it. It just matters there has to be one team that either gets lucky or gets unlucky, okay? But in this case, both teams did. Kansas State got unlucky and Oklahoma got lucky, okay? So Oklahoma went into overtime against TCU, and Kansas State, they played Kansas and they probably should have won the game, okay? They got unlucky. So if you take a look at this right here, this is Kansas State right here, and they played Kansas in their previous game, and look at, they lost by 1 point, okay? They were competing in this first half, so you could clearly see here that Kansas State was competing against Kansas, okay, for almost the entire game. They lost by 1 point. They're 12.5-point underdogs. They lost, okay? They lost. So you could make a case for them that they got unlucky in the game, all right? That they probably should have won, all right? Now, Oklahoma, on the other hand, okay, they struggled against TCU, and they probably got lucky to win this game, okay? It took them overtime to beat TCU, all right? They're 6.5-point favorites. They didn't even cover in the overtime. So they won by 5 points, but this was not a quality, anything to brag about, okay? They barely beat TCU, and they had to go to overtime to beat them, okay? So if you're following me right now, you could kind of see where I'm going with this play, okay? You could kind of understand what's going to happen in this, when you see the percentages come out. Okay, so now they go into the following game and they play each other, Kansas State and Oklahoma, okay? Now, obviously, you know where the public's going to go. Now, just to confirm it, 75%, okay? 7 out of 10 tickets are taking Oklahoma, okay? So that's a good sign. That's a good sign for Kansas State here. Okay, that's a good sign. But see, this system is based on waiting for the second half. Okay, and like I said, you want to do this with teams that are well known. Okay, when you're first starting out, you want to make sure. I suggest doing it with the teams that are ranked. Okay, or in NBA teams that are good. Okay, teams that are playing against good teams. All right. Now, in this case, Oklahoma's ranked. Okay, and they're playing Kansas State, and they're on the road. Now you see 7 out of 10 tickets taking Oklahoma here. Okay. Now what we do is we wait until the second half. Okay. We wait until the second half to bet this game. And the way you know if it's an actual second half play is if they're competing. Okay. So Kansas State, you saw here that they were competing against Oklahoma at halftime. They're up 38-33. Okay. Very close to the game line here, and very close to being an outright loss. Okay, it's very close in the margin to being either you're either winning or losing. Okay, so very close. Now, you know what the line in the second half is going to be. Just offhand, they're going to make Oklahoma probably a 3 or 4 point favorite in the second half. Okay, I think it was a 3-point favorite. So now they have them coming back, and it's close. It's like a 2-point margin from being a straight up loss or a straight up win. Okay, so that is a very good play there. Very good play to take Kansas State here, because you see all those factors that Kansas State's competing at halftime, given these two situations that happen, and the percentage on Oklahoma here for the game. It's a very good bet to take Kansas State in the second half. Okay, very good. There's a very high probability. It's a very good investment that you will win this bet. Okay, so as you see, Kansas State right here, look what they did in the second half. They beat them 49-36. You didn't even need the points in that second half. Okay, so this is just one example. Very good strategy that will work. Thing I like about it, like I said, is you're able to see what's going on in the game. Okay, you're able to see a lot of times when you bet the full games, you got to be right. You know, you got to be right at what you're doing, because you know, if you're wrong, they can get off to a bad lead, you know, a bad start, and they could be down 20 points, and then you have to, you know, they have to come back and cover. Okay, so at least in the second halves, you have a lot better of a chance because you get to see how the team is actually doing. Okay, but you have to be really good to bet a full game, and you really have to know what to look for, because it could end very quickly. Okay, if you don't know what you're looking for. Okay, so like I said, Kansas State was a play here. Okay, I'm going to show you now some of these other games. Okay, so you saw the percentage here with Oklahoma. Let's go to the 17th now. And just offhand, I'll just show you some other games that would qualify. Okay, in college here, let's see. I'm just going off of games that I personally had, okay? So I'm just scrolling down because I remember some of these games. Okay, so this one right here, this Arizona State-Stanford game. All right, so Stanford, same exact situation, okay? Same exact situation. This was a second half play, I believe. Okay, so let's see here. Let's see what Arizona State did in their previous game, okay? You know, just going by offhand right here, I believe Arizona State, I don't want to pull it up, but I believe you can go back and check, but I think Arizona State barely beat Oregon State, okay? They barely won as an 11-point favorite, all right? So they got very lucky in that game. And Stanford won their game. So, I mean, they were already hot. So this was just all on Arizona State here. Everyone was going with Arizona State. They got lucky in their previous game, okay? And then you come out and see the halftime score. Let's go back and see what the halftime score was on this game, okay? All right, so it was the 17th. Let's see. Okay, so right here. It's the 17th. I'm just going off of memory here, okay? You can check that. I think Arizona State played Oregon State. I believe that was it. They won by two or 3 points as an 11-point favorite, okay? As you see here, Stanford's obviously competing at halftime. There you go. They're competing at halftime. Arizona State's ranked 16th, and they made Arizona State, I believe, a 4-point favorite, 3-point favorite second half. And Stanford wins by 9 points. So Stanford was the play here. Okay, so next example, I'm going to go to the 17th or the 18th. Okay. So I'm just doing this by memory right now, okay? Because I showed you that one example, but I don't want to make this video too long. All right, so let's go to the 18th here. Okay, so here's one right here. St. Mary's Gonzaga, okay? Same exact situation, all right? Everyone was taking Gonzaga here, okay? Gonzaga was a 15-point favorite in their previous game against San Francisco, okay? And they only won by 9, I believe, 9 or 10. So they weren't impressive against San Francisco, and then all the public comes in on them in the next game against St. Mary's, okay, 72%. That's a heavy percentage. And at halftime, if you notice the score at halftime, this was pretty close to the game line here. Okay, St. Mary's was down by 3 points. They made them a 3-point underdog again to make it back to what the game line was at 7. Okay, let's go to the 18th. See. Okay, so right here, they're down by 4 at halftime. They're going to make Gonzaga a 3-point favorite. To make them 3-point favorite again, it's back to the game line. So you're not losing any value here. It's a great bet. Okay, so you would take St. Mary's here at +3 in the second half. They win 36-29. Okay, that's 3-0 right there, guys. 3-0. Okay, these are just quick examples that I'm showing you how to pick these games. Okay, and I'm not giving you no predictions. I'm teaching you how to make these bets. Okay, anybody can make these bets. All right, you just gotta use some common sense. Okay. Use some common sense. It all has to do with perception and numbers, okay? So we got St. Mary's here, all right? Now I'm going to take a look at one more, and then I'm going to close this video, okay? This game right here, this Michigan-Nebraska. Okay, so Michigan, okay, they beat up on Michigan State. They had a big win against Michigan State. Then they go to Maryland. I believe they played Maryland at home, okay, as a 9-point favorite or so, and they barely won. They barely won against Maryland, like 1 point. I'm talking like they beat them by 1 or 2 points. You can go back and check that. And Nebraska came off a game winner in their previous game, so nothing really for them. But Michigan is the one we're looking at here, okay? Michigan, obviously, as the team that people are going to be betting on. So we would be taking Nebraska here. But Michigan, okay, the perception was definitely on them, 67%. And they got lucky in their previous game, okay? Same exact situation. So we would take Nebraska. So let's see what they did at halftime, okay? I believe this one was losing a lot of value. So this is one that if you're making an investment on this game, I probably wouldn't go as heavy as you would on those previous 3 because of the fact that you're losing so much value. But Nebraska did end up winning here. So let's take a look. I want to see what this line, the second half line was. I think it was 5. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so this game right here, Michigan, Nebraska. Yeah, see, Nebraska's up they're competing, but they're up by too much at halftime, okay? It's a risky bet, but I still would probably bet this game, but I wouldn't put as much as I did on the other previous 3, okay? Because of the fact that you're losing, like, if they're up by 11, Michigan's favored by 5 for the game. They're gonna make this like a 5 or 6 point game, 5 or 6 point spread in the second half. Okay, so you're gonna be losing about 4 or 5 points. All right, if you bet this from a straight up win. Okay, so Michigan ended up losing the second half, and you would have won. This was an easy play. I mean, they didn't even need the spread. So they covered. Nebraska covered easily. So that's basically it in a nutshell. That's how it works, okay? And this strategy will work. Basically the same system, same exact thing that I was teaching on this how New York Jets won against Buffalo Bills. You're using the luck factor. You're using these percentages, okay? And you're also using the game line and seeing where these games end up at halftime, okay? And then you end up taking them if they're close to being a straight up win or a straight up loss, okay? Back to close to where the game line was, all right? If they're blowing them out at halftime, I wouldn't invest in it. But if it's pretty close to being a straight up win or a straight up loss, if they're competing in that game, I'm talking if they're up by 3-4 points at halftime, it's a very good investment. Okay, so I'm going to close out this video. I hope this one was very informative. So I'll be back with some more stuff. So comment, rate, and subscribe, and I'll see you then.